mindset because so much of what we've been looking at and talking about is impacted by what we've seen in the past. And I'm going to suggest to you that in a risky and changing world, it's the piece that gets short shrift is the ability to put those things aside and to take the next step of marveling at what others are doing and say to yourselves, what can I do to make my business more successful? What kind of a new mindset do I need? How many saw the Apple iWatch? Okay. I look at that and I think, you know, this is the most risky thing that I've ever seen Apple do. Because it's the first thing that I've looked at and I can't think I necessarily want it. But how many people think that Apple has already thought that one through, right? So they have a new mindset on this, despite the fact that Google Glass is going nowhere, and despite the fact that I think Nokia and Samsung actually have watches out there. But they clearly recognize that they need a new mindset to bring to this category. So if they do that, then what I'm suggesting to you is something I'm calling an 8-figure mindset. Now, how many folks here are in the 8 figures? And if you don't want to raise your hand, that's fine. But how many people have businesses that are over 10 million? Just to get a sense. We got a few people raising their hands, great. That would mean that some of you have businesses under 8 figures. And I'll be talking about this for quite a bit during the presentation. But the question that I'm going to just suggest to you is this. If you got to set some goal, set some mythical, some point in the ground, what I'm suggesting is an 8-figure mindset, because it keeps folks who are over 8 figures from focused on that, and it helps folks that need to get to 8 figures to have kind of a target. And I'll go into more detail in a little bit. But what I'd like to do now is to ask you to start thinking about what we need to do to get an 8-figure mindset. And in order to do that, I'm going to ask you to think again about why a 7-figure firm is not as likely to be successful. And here's why I think that's the case. The way that business is going right now, it used to be when we saw, there was a great exodus in the late 20th century, where a lot of people left corporate either by choice or by you know, they were downsized. And they went out and they started a business. And by the time the 20th century came around, they got it to 7 figures. And at that point, it was a very good, it was a safe, it was a secure piece of business. And what I'm going to suggest to the presentation here is that it may not be as secure anymore, and that if firms stay at 7 figures, they might be more at risk. So what we're coming up to here is there are going to be more opportunities for 8 figures. And the opportunities, as I see them, are really going to be helpful your firm is more stable. You have a better chance to get capital. Is it easier to lend money to a firm that's over 10 million? Why would you say so, Chris?
There's a lot greater chance that you're going to be able to pay it back. You're a lot more stable, less chance for takeover.
Okay, so there's one of the major underpinnings. Now, with that in mind, let's talk about how we're going to move to a roadmap and embrace and convey what I call this to be an 8-figure mindset. And here's a chance. It's now your turn. What I'd like you to do, since we have some nice tables here, is talk about with each other what changes when a business has to look back on itself. Talk about for about 5 minutes here. When businesses change, when they face change, what sort of metrics, best practices, experiences have business owners typically used to monitor the business in the face of these changes? So take some time amongst yourselves and take about 5 minutes and chat amongst yourselves, and then we'll share some of the answers.